Hey, what's up guys, Xandax here, and today I've got a bit of a discussion video, nothing too serious, just a casual discussion on Backrow and the best cards to deal with them. I just want to start off this discussion by saying everyone plays in a different way, everyone activates Backrow in a different way, there's no correct way to play around it. I'm not going to try and tell you the best way to play around it is to do this, but what I will tell you is ways you can play around it, destroy it, get it out of your hair, so that way you can go off and do your plays and completely destroy your opponents. The first sort of ways you can deal with it is using your archetypal removal, which is stuff like Gorilla, Dragon, Slip Rider, Dragon Pit, and the new Super 8 from Spiral. They all have these inbuilt spell and trap destruction effects, which are great because it means you don't have to run something like MST. I mean, you can still run MST if the format requires it because of lots of Backrow decks like Hat or whatever. But with these inbuilt effects, it sort of frees up the space in your deck a bit more because you can play these cards instead of having to play MST as well because they all have these inbuilt destruction effects. However, for something like BA where there's no inbuilt destruction effects, well, Cowcat bounces, but that's about it, you need to play cards to get around that. And I've just got a couple on here that I think are okay-ish, not too, well, some of them are great, but yeah, I guess you'll see. The first one is Harpy's Feather Duster, the best one of them all, just Regeki your opponent's spells and traps. Never going to come back in the TCG, I think. We'll probably see Heavy Storm first, but even that's a huge stretch at the moment. Probably won't see that coming back too, because that would just shit on all the Pendulum decks, and Konami doesn't want that at all. But this is what pure value is. This and Regeki. Two cards, wreck your opponent's field. Now, MS10 and Twin Twister, these are the best sort of generic spells and traps that if you just need something off the field gone and you don't care about it anymore, these are the cards you would go to. Twin Twister, just discard one. It's like MST, but you discard one and you get to target up to an extra one. And MST is just the best one for one in the game, as most people say. So these cards are great for like if your opponent just sets 2 and passes, or sets 1 and passes, you can just activate these cards, target them, hopefully your opponent doesn't chain them. If there's stuff like Trap Dust Shoot, they could chain them, but that's just a weird example I was using. But if it's stuff like Bottomless, they can't just activate it and get value off. They have to go net. Well, they have to not be able to Bottomless your monster or something. So these are the sort of premium cards that are the best at dealing with Backrow currently. I've also got this card coming out, Cosmic Cyclone. In fact, I think it's out already. I'm not too sure. I'll have to check that. But don't even ask me about that. But it's like MST, but you have to pay 1,000, but it gets banished instead. Now this is great for floating spells and traps like Cosmo Town or the Ancient Gear Field spell. I forget its name. Is it Gear Town? Stuff like that. But there's not too many floating spells and traps in the game. You could probably do it on Prime, but Prime isn't always seen in the spell and trap zone. I don't even know if it counts as a monster. I don't even know if it counts as a trap. Does it count as a trap? Let's find out. No, it's not treated as a trap card. It should be far too long to treat that. So because it's not treated as a trap card, it's not that great. But if you could Cyclone a Prime that your opponent has set in their spell and trap zone is activating that to shuffle the stuff back into the deck, that's also good. But yeah, once there becomes an archetype, I think the new Burgerstoma, I can't spell for hell. But these things, they all float, but they're not treated as trap cards on the field, but they all have to be set first, unlike Prime, which you can just be dumped straight to the grave. So a card like Cosmic Cyclone, which just gets rid of the floating element of spells, is good. It's not too great right now, but I can see it having a lot more potential in the future. Galaxy Cyclone, oh, I used to love this card. I still do, but it's not too great in today's format. You get to target one set spell and drop on the field, destroy it, and then when it's in the graveyard, you can break through skill to target one face up and destroy it. Now, the thing is, it says destroy it, not destroy that target, so if they have a Prime face down and they activate it, it still gets destroyed, which is great. This is sort of like a 2-for-1 value thing. I used to play it in BA and Lightsworn because it gets the mill value, and that's sort of obvious, but it's a 2-for-1, so you can activate it in your hand and then in graveyard, or if it just mills straight to the graveyard, it's still got some value there. But the face up and face down is a bit specific, but again, that's a great way to deal with Backrow. Targeting a set Bottomless or targeting a face up skill drain or whatever you have. It's pretty great. And now we come to Ice Hand and Holding Legs. Holding Legs is a bit different, but Ice Hand and Fire Hand, they've always been sort of there as just like the distraction hands that you can clear an opponent's entire board if you just crash, 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 crash. And they're good for dealing with stuff, but it means your opponent also has to have a monster and back row in sort of like the same amount. If they've only got 1 monster and 5 back row, it's not going to be that great. So it's really dependent, but it's sort of great in anti-meta decks where like you know they're going to have a monster, which is why Fire Hand is a lot better. But this is back row removal, so I'm talking about Ice Hand. But both of them are still decent in today's format, not too great, because probably not going to get run over, and if it is, there might be some sort of Amari's effect by something like Sheep or whatever. Sheep fucking plays Fluffles. But yeah, that could happen. Again, it's like incorporating into a monster effect so that you don't have to waste as many slots and stuff like MST and Twin Twister that only clear the back row and they don't provide any additional effects. Holding Legs is another great one. It's like when it's summoned, a giant tornado effect, and the best part is that it's just when it's summoned, so it doesn't. You could like pull the Haunted it back from grave or something, stuff like that, and then you can banish it from your graveyard to target it as well, show your opponent controls, and then set it. What was that? Take 1 set card your opponent controls. Oh yeah, so it sort of like just locks it down for a turn. Sorry, I just had to read that because well, it's not that I don't know what the card does. I just had to rephrase my thinking on it, but yeah, that's also quite good. The main thing is the giant tornado effect because that's just busted as hell. So that's quite good too. But again, it's not going to see too much play unless you play it in a deck where you're just sort of focusing on OTKing them on one turn because it's not dealing with the problem, it's just delaying it for a turn, so stuff like Infernoid, so it would be quite good because you can also summon it off Reasoning and Monster Gate and all that. And I have Pendulum Storm here too. It's not one that's seen much play, and it probably won't see too much play, but I think it's somewhat decent if you see a Pendulum anti-meta deck that doesn't rely on back row very heavily. Now, when I say that, when I say Pendulum anti-meta deck, people are going to be like, oh, Demise Cosmo, not Demise Cosmo, Demise Clifford. And it's not great against Demise Clifford because they normally set 3 or 4 and have their scales up, which is why Full House is 10 times better than Full House is here too, because it fucking wrecks Clee Demise. But if there ever comes a time where there's like a consistent anti-meta, what's the word? Deck, like almost like Magic Spectres but slightly different, where you can destroy their scales and destroy trap their control, it could be decent against that. It's clearing their scales, wasting their resources, and you get rid of 1 spell and trap card they control. And you can, that's the whole thing, like you can target 1. So if you know they're going to play back row like most Magic Spectres do, or most ones with a decent amount, not just Karen and Karen, fuck Karen. But if they're playing stuff with like their 2 scales and maybe like a couple back row and a couple monsters, you could play this, get rid of their scales, get rid of 1 of their back row, and then it's not as bad for you. So anyway, that was my little discussion. Feel free to leave your own thoughts about best ways to deal with back row in the comments below. I'd like to see an actual discussions instead of like my 10 subscribers just like not doing anything. But that's just because I'm fucking tiny and no one knows who I am. But I like making these videos, so I'm going to keep on making them. And I'm trying to be a bit more consistent with my content and all that. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will catch you guys later.